Part 18. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 171. Sisters, we will board the ship immediately after the Skyblade system self-check is completed. A team of 50 female angels, all armed and brightly armored, were advancing on the large starport platform built by the Heavenly Sword Legion. Beside them are huge Skyblade battleships parked there quietly. The column of 50 angels stretching for more than 20 meters seems to be very long, but compared with the Skyblade battleships parked there, ants are not much different. Because of the long-term confrontation with the legions under the command of King Tianyihigrath, at the border of the Skull Star near the SAR system, the Sky Sword Legion did not just stay at the border for more than 2 years. During this period, the Sky Sword Legion not only built space-building stars for transferring troops, but also built a lot of logistics facilities, among which this large-scale cosmic starport was one of the best. This starport is about 100 kilometers long and only a dozen kilometers wide. It is like a comb and is a semi-exposed space base. The defense of this starport is also not bad. It is made of Ti alloy as the skeleton and external armor, and the interior is equipped with conventional metal and high-density stone. The interior decoration style naturally inherits the aesthetics of the female angel. It is as gorgeous as a palace. The floor is made of reflective white patterned stone tiles, and the walls are carved with exquisite patterns. Occasionally, a white support column is erected to support the dome above the head. At this moment, in this giant starport, a group of 50 angels are walking towards the Skyblade that they are going to ride on. From time to time, teams of female angels fluttering their wings pass by in the sky. Even when they communicate with each other, the female angels do so in secret communication, so the entire starport is filled with a quiet atmosphere. If it weren't for the footsteps of the female angels and the vitality they bring, it would probably be said that this place is a ghost building. No one in Hong Kong would doubt it. The Kara Galaxy is the headquarters of the Heavenly Sword Legion and the headquarters of the Heavenly Sword Royal Court. Queen, the 7 Heavenly Blade warships parked at the starport of the Skull system have completed preparations and pre-war inspections. The Sisters of the Legion have also successfully boarded the ships and are ready to set off at any time. Angel Ran respectfully reported below that due to the gathering of the main force of the Hui group, Binghua and Kesha plan to mobilize all the forces of the Tianjian Legion, except for the basic defense, to the Nuhe Galaxy after discussion. Has it been completed? This is quite fast. By the way, what's the situation on Hepolia's side? Is that the trump card I have reserved against Hua yet? A voice that sounded a bit lazy and weak sounded. Binghua sat back on the throne without any trace of royal demeanor, and his fingers were constantly drawing something in the void projection in front of him. Queen, Lan, who is responsible for the restoration of Hepolias, sent a message before, reporting that most areas of Hepolias have been repaired and will soon be able to resume their original functions. Binghua breathed a sigh of relief. A few years ago, Binghua sent angels to investigate Hepolias. Although the results were not ideal, Binghua still felt that the remains of Hepolias were useful, so he sent out right-wing guards and a large number of scientific research angels went to secretly repair it. Even in order to prevent attracting Huaye's attention, several light and shadow distortion battleships and dark information simulation shield battleships were built. These warships have no offensive capabilities, and their function is to hide the changes in Hepolias so that Lan and the others can carry out repair work with peace of mind. That's good. By the way, Ran, how is your recovery from your injury? Queen, the injury has recovered and will not affect the next war. But Queen, if we mobilize all our troops to the Nuhe Galaxy, will the defenses of the Mir Galaxy and the Kra Galaxy be too empty? If there are enemies other than the Angel Nebula, if the invasion comes, the Angel Guard Legion alone may not be able to cope with it, and those fragile pre-nuclear civilizations will be in danger of destruction. Angel Ran's worry is actually very necessary. Among the 3 major galaxies currently under the control of the Tianjian Legion, Some reconnaissance warships from other civilizations often appear on the border of the Mir galaxy. Although they have all been destroyed by the border guard legions, this situation has never ceased. Binghua sighed, looking away from the weapon engine information projected in front of him, and looked down at Ran. Ran, we angels are not gods. The name God is just the honorific name that humans give to us who are unknown and powerful. Angels cannot protect everyone. You have to know this. I have ordered the Border Guard Corps to strengthen their security. If there is an unstoppable enemy invasion, the Border Guard Corps' strategy will give priority to protecting planets where angels exist. Seeing the change in Binghua's expression, Ran knew that the idea in his heart could no longer be realized, and in the end Ran could only resign in despair. Queen, I understand. Binghua looked at Ran's leaving figure and felt that both Ran and himself had changed. He had become more cold and rational. Ran, who was originally decisive and brave, had become a little emotional. You must know that as a military commander, this is not a good choice. Sign. It is probably because she was worshipped as a god by those pre-nuclear and cold weapon civilizations that she developed a vague sense of responsibility. She is really kind and cute. But have you ever known the crisis that the female angel group is facing now? Facing Huaye's main force, all 4 angel legions are gathered together, and the chance of winning is not more than 60%. Now Binghua is eager to transfer the border guards to the Angry Sea. How can he let more troops stay in the Mir galaxy? Therefore, based on the rational considerations as a king, Binghua made the best choice under the current situation. He only hoped that nothing would go wrong in the Mir galaxy while the main force of the Sky Sword Legion left. The Nuhe galaxy is actually very beautiful when viewed from a few light years away. The blue stars are shining and densely gathered in an area, just like the blue star sea across the universe. But this sea is not safe, because the planets are very dense, and the gravity of several areas is very chaotic, which causes some stars to be unstable and often erupt with large-scale solar winds, so this sea of stars is not safe. As beautiful as it appears on the surface. In addition, due to the movement of celestial bodies, this sea of stars will give observers a sense of movement. Therefore, the angels who observed this galaxy tens of thousands of years ago named it the Nuhe galaxy. However, this sea of stars is extremely lively at this moment, because the original base of Kesha's Skyblade Legion is hidden in this galaxy. I don't know where Huaye got the news. After gathering the defeated troops of the 2 expatriate kings, he immediately led the Huaye group, which expanded into a monster, to attack the Nuhe galaxy. Hui group has not even carried out rest and reorganization, and its eagerness to eliminate Kesha, one of the pillars of the female angels, has made no secret of its purpose. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 172. Near the central area of the Nuhe galaxy, the golden and white heavenly sword battleships are floating in the universe like neatly lined up soldiers. Among them are countless hundreds of meters-long heavenly sword assault ships and female angels. Patrolling through. Viewed from above, it looks like a city floating on the top of the sea of clouds, looking extremely majestic and spectacular. If you look up from below, you can only see the sky blades at the bottom of the ship, which are like inverted sword blades, as if thousands of blades are suspended in the air. This is the docking point where all the Skyblade warships of the 4 angel legions are gathered. There are a total of 46 Skyblade warships. In the center of this continuous group of Skyblade battleships, there is a giant palace built on a broken continental plate that looks like a towering castle. It is the general base of the Skyblade Legion. Different from the urban style of the Skyward Sword Legion's main base, the Skyward Blade base has a castle appearance as a whole, but its interior is extremely complex and luxurious. After all, these decorations are all done by engineering robots, and of course they will be made as close to a female angel as possible. Aesthetics. Neat footsteps sounded in the unusually wide corridor, and a line of dozens of people was so eye-catching. The first four women are now the four queens of angels, and behind them are a group of female angels with focused expressions, all exuding Ling Ran aura. I didn't expect us sisters to meet again so soon. I thought we would just separate, and it would be a few years before we meet again. Faced with Kesha's words, Binghua and other girls had different reactions. Hexi just showed a slight smile to show that he was in a good mood, while Liangbing spoke with a wide smile. Sister, you are out of sight now. My micro-wormhole technology has made great breakthroughs. Whenever you want to see me, you just need to contact me. I guarantee that I will be there in less than 2 minutes. By your side. Binghua was quite normal about this. Although she was also happy to see he 11, Liangbing, Kesha and other girls, she did not forget the reason why they, the angel queens, gathered together. As soon as they walked out of the corridor, the space in front of them suddenly opened up. It was an extremely empty hall. At the end of the hall was a platform that ascended layer by layer. On the platform, there were 4 thrones with no distinction between high and low that had been prepared early. After the queens of Binghua sat down, the guarding angels below, the left and right wing guards, and the commanders of each legion in charge of the army all lined up and stood ready to obey orders. The air became silent for a moment, and finally it was Keisha who broke the silence. Okay, now that all the sisters are gathered here, I won't say any more nonsense. We won't engage in long speeches that are useless. First of all, I believe you all know who the enemy we are going to face. The founder of the Order of the Heavenly Palace, the Heavenly Palace King Huaya, who further denies the status of our female angels. Although Kesha is a female angel, her serious words contain a unique domineering atmosphere. Huaya watched us defeat the expatriate kings and couldn't sit still anymore. He planned to personally fight us back to the prototypes we had decades ago. Do you think we can still endure that kind of life? The guarding angels, who were divided into 4 areas and led by the left and right wings of each legion, just listened quietly. No angel was stupid enough to express an opinion at this time. With Kesha's words, the somewhat disharmonious atmosphere below, because they were loyal to different queens, gradually faded away. Liangbing also put away his usual cheerful demeanor and became serious, finally looking like a king. Binghua felt that what Kesha said was right, and that she was better than him at mobilizing the female angels' hatred of Huaya. This could be seen from the changing expressions of the female angels below. After the opening few sentences, Kesha finally got to the point and started talking about some information about the Hui group and some powerful male angels with names. Binghua also pricked up his ears to listen. This also contained some information that the Tianjian Legion had not collected. For example, in the current Hui group, Ansu silver weapons have also begun to be equipped with some high-end combat forces. This made Binghua feel a little wary. There was nothing special about the rest. Most of them were things that Binghua, as the Angel King, knew. In this kind of war with a large army destined to be worth millions, all strategies have limitations. In the end, it still depends on which side has more troops and who can last until the end. After the meeting, the guarding angels below dispersed, and the guards on the left and right wings went to take charge of their own affairs and mobilization work. There were only 4 angel queens left in Ruoda's hall, and the serious atmosphere gradually disappeared. To be honest, I feel that time has passed so quickly. It has been less than 100 years since we left Marrow Star, and we are already qualified to confront Huaya. Kesha stood up from the throne, stared at the circular dome that projected light above her head, and sighed inexplicably. Yes. I never dared to imagine that one day I would become the king of angels. Now that I think about it, we were really innocent back in Mellow Academy. He 11 also felt the same emotion, as if he was entering old age early. Binghua didn't stand there and lament the innocent time in the past like Hexi and Kesha did. How many young sisters will lose their young lives this time? I feel bad when I think about it. Binghua sighed, even though he was mentally prepared, The dark cloud in his heart could not dissipate. Hey! What are you three sighing about? We haven't lost yet, and you are here sighing in advance. What do you mean? Liang Bing's words were like pouring hot water on the cold ice, instantly freeing Binghua, Kesha, and He-11 from memories and pessimism. Liang Bing is right. Why are you talking about this now? We sisters finally got together. Why don't we go have a nice meal? The last time we got together like this was a few years ago. Kesha put her arms around the shoulders of Hexi and Binghua, and walked towards the exit of the hall below. While the female angel was preparing for the battle, the atmosphere at Hui Group was also very lively. Huaya sat on the throne and looked at the many generals and direct descendants under his command. He touched his chin and spoke in a very disdainful tone. That little bitch Kesha united with Binghua and gathered a large group of ordinary female angels to fight against my king's heavenly army. She is dreaming. Huaya laughed as he spoke, and many of the direct descendants of the Huaya group below also laughed in agreement. Most of their ideas are still based on the common impression of female angels from the Battle of Marrow Star decades ago, and even Huaya is the same. Just because Binghua and Keisha are strong, it doesn't mean that the girls under her command are also strong. This can be seen from the fact that her generals can easily defeat the legions under Binghua and Kesha. The reports from Suri and Sumari afterwards also explain this point. There are generally first-generation warriors in the female angels legion, but the number of second-generation warriors is extremely rare, and the existence of third-generation warriors is even rarer. This is a make-up from yesterday. It was too late to upload it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 173. Listening to the various remarks made by Huaya's direct descendants and Huaya who looked down on the female angel in the front, the faces of some of the former high-ranking officials of the expatriate king's army who had taken refuge with Huaya in the rear did not look very good. Doesn't this clearly mean that they are incompetent? They can't even defeat a group of female angels. There is a reason why Huaya looks down on the female angel so much. Although Binghua made him very embarrassed last time, this cannot change the female angel's weakness in high-end combat effectiveness. Huaya now has his own direct lineage removed from his subordinates. There are more than a dozen third-generation level warriors among the foreign troops he has recruited. If you add your original subordinates, the number of third-generation high-level angels exceeded 40, and with the addition of the elite guards of the angel civilization, Huaya couldn't imagine the possibility of losing. King, although we have an absolute advantage, we can't underestimate the enemy too much. Kesha is not that kind of brainless idiot. Huaya suppressed the smile on his face and looked in the direction of Chen Xin with Suri, Sumari and other male angel executives. Oh, Chen Xin, do you have any good ideas? You might as well tell us and let us all listen. King, although the high-level combat power of the female angels cannot compare with ours, we do not have an advantage in terms of grassroots military strength. In the end, even if we can win, the angel civilization will be severely damaged. Chenexing's words reminded Huaya that the number of troops under his command next year would be more than 3 million, of which nearly 1 million would be surrendered. The real number of direct line soldiers was only about 2 million. However, according to the information obtained by the female angel alone, it is estimated that the number of troops exceeds 3.5 million, including more than 40 celestial warships. Although at their level, what really determines the direction of the battlefield is the high-end warriors with 1 against 100, but the numerical advantage of the grassroots soldiers cannot be ignored. Because as long as the number is large enough, on such a million-level battlefield, high-level angels will be besieged and killed accidentally. And if he fights with the female angel like this, even if he can win in the end, the losses to the Tiangong army will not be small. This is not what Huaye wants to see. So is there a solution? Facing Huaye's question, Chen Xing showed a harmless smile. King, we need cannon fodder, a lot of cannon fodder. Where does that cannon fodder come from? No one is a fool who would deliberately die. Huaye waved his hand, signaling Chen Xing to stop being so pretentious and speak quickly. King, will there be someone who is willing to be this cannon fodder, or someone who is rushing to be? Binghua's Skyblade Legion is responsible for left-wing defense, Kaisha's Skyblade Legion is responsible for frontal defense, Liangbing's Tiankai Legion is responsible for the right wing, and Hexi's Skyblade Legion is the reserve legion. When this assignment was first issued, He 11's left-wing guard Hizui was extremely dissatisfied, but he could not change the result. Compared with the other three legions, the space-based legion is much weaker in strength. Except for the 400,000 full-time combat legion soldiers, the rest are engaged in research. Although they can also go to the battlefield, they are not full-time soldiers after all. There is still a big gap between the strength of the fighting angels and the professionals. Queen, the sisters sent out to investigate the movements of the Tiangong army reported that Huaye's army stopped outside the Nuhe system. Ran reported that Binghua, who was sitting on the throne, frowned. She, Kesha, and Liangbing had all set up their formations. Why did Huaye stop so suddenly? However, Binghua was just confused and did not make any other moves. After discussing with Keisha and other women, she decided to remain unchanged in response to all changes. With the waiting, several months passed in the blink of an eye, and the army of female angels who had been waiting in the central area of the Nuhe galaxy gradually began to feel a little slack. Yinga, when do you think those scum will come? It's been months. Angel Ziluo was lying on the corner of a shrunken dark energy orbital turret on the external platform of Tianren. While looking at the cosmic dust floating like clouds in the universe, he complained to his good sister Yinga beside him. Isn't this nice, so no sisters will die? Yinga's interest was not that high. She didn't like fighting and killing as much as Ziluo. Joining the Heavenly Sword Legion was almost the boldest decision she had ever made since she was born. Strictly speaking, Yinga regrets it a bit, because the battlefield is too dangerous, and she has narrowly escaped death several times. If Ziluo, who has outstanding combat awareness, had not been taking care of her, Yinga probably would have died in the Skull Galaxy. On the battlefield. Why Yinga and Ziluo appeared in the Nuhe Galaxy began 3 years ago. Because their team discovered important resources, they were transferred from the Border Guard Corps to the Sky Sword Corps afterwards. In the Heavenly Sword Legion, Ziluo and Yinga received more advanced and professional combat training from their direct captains, and also had time to learn more supplementary combat skills. Later, Ziluo and Yinga performed outstandingly on the battlefield in the Skull Galaxy, and worked with their teammates to kill several second-generation male angel captains. So now Ziluo and Yinga have been upgraded to second-generation angels, equipped with the flaming swords they dreamed of. Moreover, Yinga refused to serve as team leader and chose to continue to stay in the same angel team as Ziluo. As for whether there are any consequences or penalties for disobedience, I'm sorry to say that there are no such things. This situation is not too rare. There are very few female angels who are willing to separate from their companions who live with them day and night to lead a strange team of female angels alone. Therefore, if there is more than one flaming sword holder in such a team, it will be divided into an elite team. And with Binghua's family background, he could afford to ration the flaming sword of the brave angel in battle like this. Just when the female angel thought that Huaye group would spend its first year peacefully like this, Huaye finally lifted the curtain and put on the stage what he had been holding back for a while. It was a fleet composed of dozens of aerospace-level affiliated civilizations, among which those with the most technological strength had even slightly touched the edge of super-gene technology. I don't know what benefits Huaye promised these civilizations. These civilizations gathered a large number of space battleships and formed an extremely large fleet heading towards the central area of the Nuhe galaxy where the female angel side was located. The biggest enemy of the female angels, the Hui group, is closely following these affiliated civilizations, and everyone knows what their wishful thinking is. But those affiliated civilizations didn't care. In one fell swoop, they drove the fleet within the normal range of the female angels' Skyblade battle group. The Skyblade Legion, which was responsible for frontal defense, was not polite at all under Kesh's order. The Skyblade warships opened fire directly, and the combined fleet composed of affiliated civilizations was instantly beaten and suffered heavy losses. Chapter 2 will be posted tomorrow. It's too late today and I have to go to work tomorrow. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 174. However, this result was expected, so Kesha was not happy at all. The situation on Binghua's side is the same. Faced with the joint attack of these aerospace-level civilizations, Tianren can cope with it without any pressure. The various beam attacks of those aerospace-level civilizations are simply not powerful enough to break through the Skyblade shield. However, the counterattack of the Skyblade is unbearable by the space battleships of those aerospace-level civilizations, and the Skyblade's energy supply mainly relies on nearby stars, so there is no need to worry about energy depletion. On the contrary, the large flagships of aerospace-level civilizations are different. After being bombarded by dozens of conventional weapons from the Skyblade, they will fall into the embarrassing situation of insufficient energy, unable to maintain their shields, and needing time to restore energy. However, this huge combined fleet did not play any role. In the end, they just piled up corpses in front of the Skyblade. That's the female angel's large flagship. It's really spectacular. A silver-haired, white-skinned, Western-looking humanoid creature standing on the bridge of a huge metal battleship, wearing black-powered life support armor, sighed with emotion. Even though the distance was still quite far, Tianren's huge hull and majestic and sacred appearance still gave the commanders of these aerospace-level civilizations a great visual impact. Captain, we are close to the 25,000-yard range of the enemy Skyblade battleship. Do you want to dispatch carrier-based space fighters to attack? The figure who was called the captain turned around and looked at the subordinate who came to ask. He gave a faint hum before speaking. Order all the carrier-based space fighters to attack, and all other types of combat ships to fire at Tianren with all their strength. We must show the majesty of our Tainan civilization and let those guys know that we are not easy to mess with. After the outside world gave the order to the captain of this fleet, the huge flagship was like a hornet's nest. Countless small space fighters were ejected and swarmed towards the huge Skyblade like a buzzing swarm. At the same time, behind the space fighter, countless battleships opened fire almost simultaneously, beam barrages of various colors and thicknesses blasting towards the direction of the Skyblade. Captain, the enemy has launched an attack, and the total strength of the Skyblade shield has dropped by 13%. The female angel, who was sitting on the operating position and kept sliding her fingers in the void projection, reported. These ordinary civilizations dare to participate in our war with Hua yet. They really overestimate their capabilities. Let them see the absolute power of the Skyblade. Captain Tianren, who was sitting in the main seat, spoke with undisguised pride in his tone. The female angels below who were responsible for controlling the Skyblade system also raised their mouth slightly, and in the outside world, the Skyblade also began to change. First, the shield that originally covered the entire Skyblade began to dissipate, and then miniature shields automatically emerged in the air, blocking the incoming beams. The next moment, Tianren also began to show these affiliated civilizations that did not know the heights of the sky and the earth what was called the gap between heaven and earth. The Spear of Light, Skyblade's conventional weapon, fired simultaneously, a volley of beams that almost obscured the starry sky, emitted from the position of the Skyblade battleship, and then passed by the combined fleet. The next second, booming explosions continued to sound in the combined fleet. A salvo of conventional weapons from the Skyblade blasted all the warships in the combined fleet that did not meet the standard of defense into space junk on the spot. This is the destructive power caused by one Skyblade. You must know that the female angel has concentrated 46 Skyblades this time. On Binghua's side alone, there are 13 Skyblade battleships responsible for defense, and now this huge combined fleet has only hit one of the Skyblades responsible for the defense of an area. However, although the Skyblade is strong, the number of warships in the combined fleet is too exaggerated. Some of the attacks launched at once broke through the Skyblade's automatic interception shield and hit the Skyblade's hull. In the golden and white, the sacred ship's hull was stained with several scorched black marks. This made the captain of the Skyblade feel extremely humiliated, so in order to despair these affiliated civilizations who dared to harm her beloved Skyblade, she directly called the other nearest Skyblades. The Skyblade can be attacked. The appearance of this sight allows the commanders of affiliated civilizations to see the possibility of victory, because as long as they are not invincible, they can always find a way to win. But the next second, they didn't think so, because they saw a fluctuation in the space around the combined fleet. The next second, in the vertical pupil-shaped space wormhole, a warship that they were extremely familiar with slowly flew out. Just like a signal, space also fluctuated in the other direction of the United Fleet, and a warship of the same specification slowly flew out of the space wormhole. A total of 3 Skyblades appeared in 3 directions of the combined fleet, firmly surrounding the combined fleet in the middle, and then launched a continuous fire bombardment. Just as the 3 Skyblade warships were launching a battle of annihilation against the invading combined fleet, a communication came from the Legion's dispatch center. Captains numbered 09, 12, and 13, please support the right-wing area immediately after hearing this. The main force of Hui Group is attacking the right-wing area of the general defense line. Upon hearing the news, the captains of the 3 Skyblades immediately prepared to order a space jump to support the right-wing battlefield in charge of Apocalypse King Liang Bing. But in fact, the Skyblade battleship relied on firepower to suppress the combined fleet, but at the same time, it could not completely avoid the combined fleet's attack and make a safe space jump. In the end, the captains of the 3 Skyblades discussed in the communication and decided to leave one Skyblade to cover, while the remaining 2 Skyblades went to support. Prepare to release the combat team to cover the Skyblade's space jump. Near the exit of the Skyblade battleship, the fully armed angel warriors who had been waiting for a long time received the order. Sisters, please be careful when we go out soon, and be careful to avoid the enemy's battleship main guns. After saying that, the female angel captain, who was in charge of commanding 10 teams with a flaming sword, turned around and flew out from the combat platform outside the Skyblade. After tens of thousands of angel warriors flew out from the Skyblade and poured into the combined fleet, the Skyblade finally had the opportunity to make a space jump. Following a sudden change in the surrounding space, the Heavenly Blade battleship came to a new space in the universe through the space wormhole, and what came into view was indeed a scene like hell. The burning Skyblade battleship, the corpses of male and female angels floating everywhere, and the angel teams that were traveling at extremely fast speeds to fight. Requesting support. I am being chased by 3 scum. I am the only one left in the team. Please support me from other nearby teams. A female angel held a flaming sword and flapped her wings to fly at high speed, quickly bypassing the wreckage and corpses along the way, and shouted in the communication channel. With a sword, he pushed back the male angel who attacked from the blind corner of his sight, and his figure dodged to avoid the attack of another male angel. But a cross sword struck the female angel on the back, knocking her forward and staggering. Before the female warrior could adjust her body, 2 male angels passed by her. After a burst of blood splashed, the female angel seemed to have lost her soul, spinning around a few times, and then stopped. When he moved, even the flaming sword in his hand was released. After the three male angels who besieged and killed the female angel did all this, they did not stay where they were and immediately flew to another direction. But during the flight, they were suddenly attacked by a female angel combat team. Only a few flashes of fire were seen. The next moment, the three male angels died the same fate as the female angel before and turned into the mass of corpses present. One member. For a time, fierce battles continued in this starry sky. You killed me, I killed you. Before you could breathe a sigh of relief just after killing the enemy, your life was taken away by a sneak attack from elsewhere the next moment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 175. You said Huaye's main attack was on the right-wing defense line that Liangbing was in charge of. It's strange, how did Huaye know that the right-wing defense was insufficient? Binghua paced back and forth in the main hall, and seeing her queen like this, Ran reported another not-so-good news. Queen, not only that, the left defense line we are responsible for and the frontal defense line Queen Kesha is responsible for have both been impacted by the affiliated civilizations under Huaye. Binghua looked down at Ran and spoke in confusion. What's wrong? Ran, those affiliated civilizations can't come to the forefront at all. We just need to annihilate them. If you dare to participate in this war, you must be prepared to be completely wiped out. But Queen, although those aerospace-level civilized fleets are no match for the Skyblade battleship group, most of our strength is dragged on the left defense line. Now there are less than 3 Skyblades that can be mobilized to support the right-wing defense line, and the Legion soldiers are also less than 300,000. Binghua fell into deep thought upon hearing this, his eyebrows knitted together, thinking about what to do. Although Huaye attacked the right-wing defense line, it was not yet certain whether it was true or not. It would be bad if the Hui group took advantage of the rash transfer of a large number of troops. By then the Legion would be divided and surrounded, and even Kesha and her mighty powers would not be able to turn the tide. In the end, Binghua could only do her best. She believed that Kesha, who was in charge of the frontal defense, would never be able to break through the right-wing defense line. 3 Skyblades will be 3. Immediately send an order for them to jump through space to support the right-wing defense line. The other Skyblades and Legion soldiers should continue to stay where they are to defend, and do not miss any suspicious targets. The Apocalypse Legion's defense line on the right wing was violently attacked by Hui group, resulting in extremely heavy casualties. Even Liangbing himself went on the scene and crushed several high-level male angels to death. Even after Hizui, the left-wing guard of the Sky Sword Legion, Skyblade Legion and Sky Base Legion, personally led the team to support, the situation still did not improve much. The Silver Blade and Frosted Silver Blade are fused together. This is a high-end weapon created by combining the characteristics of red gold and dark silver ore. It not only retains the energy circuit system inside the flame sword, but also gives it some of the sharp characteristics of the dark silver weapon. One sword cut a male angel into 2 pieces. Hizui, who was wearing silver armor and pulling down his visor, was like the god of death dancing in the void. The frosted silver sword in his hand was swung again and again with her flashing figure, leaving a trace behind. There were mutilated corpses. It's hard to imagine how Hichui used this flying strategy from extremely quiet to extremely dynamic. It was as flexible as if he were on flat ground. Sister Heikawi, there is a communication request from King Liangbing of Tiankai. Hizui, who was charging in one direction, suddenly paused, and then immediately instigated his wings to quickly fly backwards to a safe area. At the same time, several female angel warriors who had been following nearby and responsible for resisting flank harassment immediately stepped forward and chased the crane behind them. If they were distracted on the battlefield without the protection of their companions, they would be attacked from the dark. The hunter is targeting. Hey, King Tiankai, tell me if you have anything to say, I'm very busy right now. Hizui's tone was not too respectful. She and Liangbing actually knew each other, and she had a serious lack of affection for Liang Bing, who had some trouble with her sister He 11. Where are you now? Why haven't you arrived at the scheduled location? The newly established second line of defense has been attacked by Huaye's subordinate Tianjia. If the gap cannot be closed, the right-wing defense line will be torn open, and that scumbag Huaye will be able to separate my Apocalypse army from the Heavenly Blade and Heavenly Sword army. At that time, the hundreds of thousands of sisters under my command they will all die in the angry sea. Liang Bing's tone was very aggressive, and he didn't care about the tone of He Zui's words. Instead, he spoke a long string of words. Hearing this, a slight blue vein appeared on He Zui's forehead, and he immediately replied loudly, with a tone even harsher than Liang Bing on the other end. I have arrived at the location. What did your subordinates report? The number of scum here is several times greater than the support troops I brought. How do you ask me to close the gap for you? Do you want to use corpses? After saying that, He Zui immediately hung up the communication, raised his sword again and charged for the kill, shouting in the dark communication channel at the same time. Sisters, we must kill these scum and plug the gaps in the defense line, otherwise countless sisters will die in vain. Clear. Those who responded to He Chai were the countless female voices present. Some of them were fighting with the male angels, and some were seriously injured but did not retreat. They just roared inwardly with red eyes and swung the weapons in their hands to chop at the male angels. On the other side of the temporarily established second line of defense where Liang Bing was, Liang Bing cursed, but she hadn't lost her mind yet and knew that He Chui was not to blame. That guy suddenly didn't like to see her, but he was also an extremely strong guy. His tone in the communication just now was so aggressive, which obviously meant that the battle situation was not ideal, and he might even have said it badly. Thinking of this, Liang Bing felt angry. It was as if the Hui group was targeting her and kept adding more troops to the front line. Now not only the ordinary angel warriors suffered heavy losses, but even 2 Sky-Blade battleships fell. Looking at the fierce melee in front of him and the small group of male angels being blocked by his guard angels not far away from him, Liang Bing finally found a place to vent the anger in his heart. Raising his hand, his slender white fingers were slightly bent into a grasping shape, and a male angel facing the direction of his palm was suddenly imprisoned in the void. If there are angels who are proficient in space technology here at this moment, you can see that the space around this male angel seems to have solidified, tightly confining this male angel in the void. Liang Bing muttered in his mouth, "Let you all bother me," at the same time, his grasping palms clenched into fists. The male angel who was imprisoned in the void had bulging eyes and his body was twisted into an alien posture. Although he did not die on the spot due to the squeeze of space, he became a useless angel. Just when Liang Bing kept looking for male angels to vent her anger, her guardian angel came to Liang Bing's vicinity and reported loudly. "Queen, the support from the Sky Sword Legion has arrived. There are 3 Sky Blades in total, including 300,000 Sky Sword Legion soldiers. They are now helping Tianji King's left-wing guard He Zui to stabilize the front." Liang Bing's face turned from anger to joy, he shouted hello excitedly, and then said immediately. As expected, Binghua is still reliable. This wave of support is great. I give her 9 points. Now let me counter-attack with all my strength and fight back these scumbags who think I am easy to bully. The support from the Sky Sword Legion can be said to be a life-saving straw. Kesha had provided support a long time ago, but it was all filled up by Liang Bing into the current right-wing defense line, without even a splash. Although the 300,000 Legion and 3 Sky Blades are not too many, they are enough for Liang Bing to temporarily stabilize the entire front and readjust the deployment of troops. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 176. Hey, Why doesn't Binghua go to support Liang Bing? I've been waiting for 2 full days. Outside the warning range of the left defense line of the Sky Sword Legion, in a sea of meteorites, a huge fleet is hiding here. In a unique battleship surrounded by several celestial battleships, Huaye sat on the throne and spoke impatiently. At this moment, almost half of the direct generals of the Huaye group are gathered here. In addition to Seminary and other high-level male angels who attack the female angels' right-wing defense line, such as Suri, Kunpeng, Chenxing and other generals who are trusted by Huaye are all here. Seeing Huaye's impatient look, Chenxing stood up. He was the one who came up with the plan, and now it was naturally up to him to calm Huaye down. King, Binghua seems to be extremely calm and has not been affected by our plan to support the battlefield on the right. There is only one way for you to successfully achieve your goal. Huaye, who was impatiently tapping his fingers on the armrest of the throne, hummed, and his prolonged tone showed that he was in a bad mood at the moment. That is an all-out attack, with the affiliated civilization as the vanguard. We rely on our numerical advantage to forcibly defeat Binghua's Sky Sword Legion. Huaye's eyes narrowed on the throne. He understood Chenxing's words. The previous strategy could ensure that they could penetrate the defense line of Binghua's Heavenly Sword Legion to the greatest extent. But now, since Binghua was not fooled and was only attracted away a small number of troops, then our side directly crushed Binghua's defense line with the overwhelming force. Okay, then according to what you said, I can't wait to see that bitch turn into a lost dog. Suri, you are responsible for commanding this battle. I have only one request. I want to make that stinky bitch Binghua become a loner. Suri, whose name was called, stepped forward and half knelt on the ground to salute. The silver-black armor on his body made a slight collision and friction sound, and there was an unusually serious look on his handsome face. I will definitely not pay the king's trust. After Suri left, the Tiangong army that was originally hidden in the meteorite belt began to take action. More than half of the warships began to gradually sail out of the meteorite belt, heading towards the battlefield ahead of the Tianjian Legion on the brilliant Star Sea at maximum speed. The moment the main force of Hui Group appeared, it was detected by the Heavenly Sword Legion and the Heavenly Blade Legion. Who made the defense lines of the two so close to each other? Binghua sat on the throne and watched the sign representing the Hui Group in the star map projection moving rapidly towards the defense line where his legion was located. Has it finally appeared? After saying this to himself, Binghua remotely commanded the entire Heavenly Sword Legion through dark communication. Attention, Sky Sword Captains, I am your queen, Sky Sword King Binghua. Huaye has appeared, and is now going all out to annihilate the affiliated civilization fleet in front of you, and then rush to the designated position, allowing the use of star-destroying strikes if necessary. After Binghua's wide area call ended, some Sky Blades began to plan a Star Destroyer level attack. This caused a large number of dead souls to emerge from the combined fleets fighting them. These aerospace-grade civilizations actually have the ability to destroy stars, but their methods are very backward compared with the angels. They directly use their weapons to forcibly destroy the dark matter bombs. Go out and use it to destroy the target planet. However, this method is easily intercepted by long-range attacks, and it is completely different from the Sky Blade's energy-charged attack method. A Star Destroyer was launched by the Sky Blade and detonated in the center of the combined fleet. The next moment, the terrifying light and heat immediately swallowed up the battleship group, as if an expanding star appeared out of thin air. Even the Sky Blade, which was far away from the center of the explosion, the surrounding space was dyed with a light orange-red color. Even the temperature of the surrounding vacuum of the universe rose a little, and then quickly dropped back to the normal level. Moreover, it was not just one Sky Blade that launched a star-killing strike during this period. Several dazzling flashes of light appeared in the center of the Nuhe galaxy, like stars that were lit up. When the combined fleet was nearly annihilated due to Tianren's star-destroying strike, the Hui Group's army finally arrived belatedly. Compared to the huge hull of Tianren, which is no less impressive, the Sky flagship's hull is so eye-catching that it looks like it is stacked with different circular platforms from small to large, so that as soon as it emerges from the space jump wormhole, everyone on the scene is overwhelmed. Captured by the eyes of the female angels. Report to the captain, a Tiangong flagship has been discovered. And several large wormholes have opened and fluctuated around it, and the dark communications around us have also been blocked. Captain Tianren, who was sitting in a high position, had a solemn expression on his face. He directly raised his hand to signal the excited angel to calm down. At this moment, the captain of the Tiangong flagship was giving orders with a faint smile on his face. Calculate the surrounding space position, prop up a large shield, and cover the entry of the fleet led by General Rising Sunday. Yes, Captain. More than a dozen male angels sitting in a row who were playing with the data on the projection screen echoed at the same time. After the intruding Tiangong flagship held up its shield, the Tiangong flagships behind it were spat out by large wormholes one after another. In less than 20 seconds, 6 Tiangong flagships had already appeared between the combined fleet and the Tiangong fleet. On the battlefield of blades. At this moment, even if the Sky Blade captain was stupid, he knew the Hui group's plan. Those combined fleets that were no different from cannon fodder must have hidden instruments that provide positioning and analysis of space nodes. In this way, the Hui group can learn about the battlefield situation through its affiliated civilization fleet, and then snipe the lone Sky Blade warship according to combat needs. This Huaya planned to defeat them one by one, and the Sky Blade he commanded unfortunately became the first target. Captain Tianren stood up and looked down at the angels who were all looking at her and spoke loudly. Sisters, compile and report the situation at the scene to the Queen's flagship. Next, let those scum see the consciousness of our female angel. For the Queen. The female angel below also shouted, for the Queen. The voice that echoed in the Tianren command hall contained the admiration and firm belief in Binghua, as well as the deep awareness that even though there was an abyss ahead, he still refused to turn around. In the Tiangong flagship on the opposite side, an order came from the flagship that was hidden in the middle where Rising Sun was located. Target enemy celestial warship, attack with the entire army. The next moment, it was not only the Tiangong flagship, but also the warship-style warships around it and the mixed combined fleet rushing towards the direction of the Sky Blade. Under the concentrated fire of several battleships of the same level, the strength of Tianren's shield plummeted, and it only lasted for a few minutes before it was declared overloaded and shattered into energy debris all over the sky with a bang. The female angels who had been standing on the external combat platform of Tianren for a long time raised their weapons, slightly bent their legs, and then rushed towards the enemy like discharged cannonballs. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 177. The female angels who rushed out at high speed collided with the space fighters and male angels that rushed towards the Sky Blade. The two sides were like cavalry clashing on an ancient battlefield. The scene was extremely cruel and bloody. The female angels who charged forward like cannonballs used the momentum to easily pierce through the male angels in front of them with their war spears, but more of them were intercepted in mid-air by the weapons in the hands of the male angels. As for the space fighters belonging to the civilization, except for a few lucky enough to escape the impact of the female angel, most of the rest were destroyed by the war spear in the hands of the female angel. The shattered and collapsed white walls, the trampled and chaotic green lawn, and the female angels lying on the ground wearing armor and stained with blood made everything look so desolate. Listen to me. Search every corner and don't miss a female angel. By the way, I'm warning those guys to watch their hands and not to touch anything in this battleship. A high-ranking male angel who seemed to be of high status gave instructions to the surrounding male angel warriors. It's the Legion commander. Seeing that his subordinates were ordered to lead the team away, the high-ranking male angel looked around at the surrounding scene and said in wonder. These girls really know how to enjoy themselves, and the battleships are quite gorgeous. As he spoke, he stepped into the palace on the Skyblade, ignoring the blood splattered on the white walls and the female angel who fell against the wall. Just as the high-ranking male angel was admiring his masterpiece, a shadow suddenly covered the palace windows, dimming the light in the palace. The expression on the face of this high-ranking male angel changed, and he suddenly had a bad feeling, and rushed out without caring about admiring the cruel scene in the palace. It is one size larger than an ordinary heavenly blade warship, and the magnificent palace on it is also an open-air style that is different from ordinary heavenly blades. In the deepest part of the gorgeous hall paved with pure white stone bricks, under the wall with the gorgeous relief of a sword hanging in the air, there is a silver throne that looks very majestic and simple. At this moment, Binghua placed his hands flat on the armrests on both sides of the throne, leaned his back against the throne and sat upright, sitting there in a posture that was very suitable for his status. And in the air and square outside the main hall and palace, a famous female angel holding a flaming sword and her face covered by a mask, exuding an aura of agility, was suspended in mid-air, holding Bing sitting on the throne. Hua Gongwei is in the center. This is truly an appearance worthy of a king. King Hua yet is nothing more than that. The high-ranking male angel who saw the scene thought in his mind that the next moment a scene similar to the appearance of the Tiangong flagship appeared. 10 skyblades jumped through the large micro-impact wormhole and surrounded the Tiangong fleet in the middle. Hui Group can use the spatial positioning device arranged in advance in the affiliated civilization to implement tactics of defeating them one by one. Why can't the Tianbian warships use each other's spatial coordinates to implement a counter-encirclement tactic? When he realized that a Skyblade had failed to report the situation in time, Binghua had a hunch that something was definitely going on. Then Binghua immediately ordered the mobilization of Skyblade battleships, and at the same time applied for Skyblade assistance from Kesha, so it came later. Looking at the tragic scene on the Skyblade, although there was no wave on Binghua's face, the fingers on the armrest of the throne were secretly flexed with force. Even though he had been mentally prepared for it, when he saw this scene, Binghua couldn't help but feel the anger rising in his heart. Without Binghua's instructions, Ran, who was outside the hall, raised his sword and pointed in the direction of the fallen Skyblade battleship. Sisters, take back the Skyblade. Avenge the dead sisters. At the same time, the 11 Tianren warships surrounding the 6 Tiangong flagships also launched an attack and approached the Tiangong flagship, preparing to use their superior strength to engage in a boarding battle to prevent the Tiangong flagship from escaping. The battle situation had reached the current situation, and the male angel did not care about assisting his colleagues who had invaded the Skyblade, and quickly adjusted the angle of the battleship to prepare for a counterattack. First, the guarding angel legion holding the flaming sword came into contact with the male angel who captured the Skyblade. The battle situation was very clear from the beginning. The soldiers who could join the Guard Corps were not only experienced soldiers, but they were also extremely experienced warriors. Through the close connection of secret communication, often unfamiliar companions can cooperate tacitly. Under a joint attack, even the second-generation male angels are often not the enemy of a joint attack. Yinga's eyes behind the mask were focused, and the flaming sword in her hand glowed a faint red. She aimed at a gap, inserted into the battlefield, and blocked a male angel who was pursuing victory. Zilluo. A reply immediately sounded in the dark communication, "Here we come." The next moment, an afterimage passed over the back of the male angel in front of Yinga, splashing blood. The strength of the male angel's hand was suddenly reduced a lot after being severely injured. Seeing this, Yinga drew her flaming sword, tilted her upper body slightly to avoid the weapon in the male angel's hand, and stabbed hard with the flaming sword in her hand. It penetrated his chest with a pop, revealing a blood-stained blade behind him. A high-level male angel suddenly felt a sound of breaking through the air behind him as he deflected the heavy sword with one sword. He quickly turned his body to one side and narrowly avoided a female angel who was charging from behind with a sword. "Sisters, we found a third-generation high-level male angel, please support us." Seeing that this guy with much more gorgeous armor than ordinary male angels had escaped several attacks from her and her sisters, the female angel immediately understood that she had met a so-called high-level male angel, that is, a third-generation warrior, converted into a heavenly sword legion, that is, a powerful warrior at the level of a division commander. As the Heavenly Sword Legion has engaged in several large-scale battles with male angels, a set of methods for dealing with high-level male angels has long been popular. That is to say, a plurality of second-generation angel squad captains will conduct a siege and joint attack. Even if they cannot encircle and kill, they must still be delayed. Otherwise, the lethality of the third-generation warriors will easily cause a local disadvantage on the battlefield. In just a moment, the surrounding second-generation female angels gathered, surrounding the male angel legion commander who had captured the heavenly blade. Looking at the points of the flaming swords pointed at him in a circle around him, he felt a little guilty even though he had experienced hundreds of battles. The next moment, the surrounding female angels moved at the same time. They did not attack together without any plan. Each of their angels' attack angles were particular, and their angles covered all possible directions for counter-attack and avoidance by this high-level male angel. I saw a black figure in the sky of Tiananmen Square and nearly 10 silver figures, inciting their white wings to jingle together in the air. The silver figure kept surrounding the black figure, charging forward with a sword from time to time, and the black figure also kept fighting back. But as the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. After a while, the black figure couldn't cope with it, and was frequently struck by the weapons in the hands of the silver figures gathered around it. This was exactly the scene of 8 second-generation female angels besieging the third-generation male angel. In less than a minute, the third-generation male angel was defeated. In the end, the flaming sword in the hands of the female angel who cooperated tacitly held up the weapon, restricting the body's ability to move. Other female angels took the opportunity to penetrate the body with the flaming sword, and died in humiliation at the hands of the female angel that he had always looked down on. Sorry, there is only one update today. I work during the day, and when I come back at night, I have to take care of my own home and work overtime, so I can only maintain one update. You can check it out after a few days. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 178. Of course, after all, there are only a few high-level male angels who can be surrounded and killed by second-generation angels. After learning from past mistakes, those high-level male angels will not be alone again on the dangerous battlefield. There is one kind of being who, even if alone on a dangerous battlefield, will not be afraid of being surrounded and killed by ordinary female angels, and that is Suri, one of the few in the current angel civilization who has a first-generation divine body. After countless years of training in the war with the foreign king, Suri's indifferent face now has a bit of warrior's perseverance, and even his fighting style has undergone slight changes. The silver giant sword is engraved with an inscription that curls like a family crest. There is no extra decoration on the broad jaw of the sword, which is as simple as a cross, as if it is only designed to intercept the enemy's weapons. At the same time, the faint special silver metallic luster on the blade shows that this giant sword is not just a high-end flame-level weapon of the angelic civilization. Nowadays, the super gene of the angel civilization has actually found a bottleneck and has reached a point where it needs innovation. Especially regarding the fighting methods of super soldiers, young people such as Seminary, Suri and other direct descendants of Huaya have mastered some fighting methods in addition to the basic ability of dark energy drive. Most of the male angels who have been promoted to third-generation warriors very early are still using the basic strategy of dark energy drive. But the female angel is different. Kesha's sacred language can be said to have made it possible for complex energy-driven formulas to be popularized. Binghua even used the sacred language to weaponize several energy-driven formulas and some auxiliary technologies. The result of this is the diversification of drive technologies in the female angel database, with both auxiliary and lethal drive technologies available. Suri fanned the wings on his back and flew out of the Tiangong flagship range at his feet, and was immediately noticed by the female angels in the surrounding space. Suffer death. A female angel raised her flaming sword and swooped over quickly. At the same time, she shouted in the wide area dark channel to attract Suri's attention. However, from the corner of Suri's eyes, he had already observed that there were female angels secretly circling behind, one attracting the other to sneak attack. It was a very dangerous situation for warriors of the same level. But for Suri, it was easy to break it. He raised his sword and slashed away the female angel rushing towards him, then turned around and retreated slightly, avoiding the surprise attack of the female angel behind him. Then it came from behind, fluttering its wings and flying out, raising the giant sword in its hand and suddenly falling. The sound of cutting metal was heard, and the wings behind the female angel lost the power to continue to incite and turned into a piece of floating matter in the universe. Member. Seeing this, Suri flicked the bright red stain on the giant sword in his hand and prepared to rush elsewhere, ready to give full play to his current strength and gain an advantage in the local war. Just when Suri was about to rush towards the dense area of female angels, more than a dozen female angels had already gathered around and raised the flaming swords in their hands to point them at him. Their faces behind the visors were uniformly solemn. Just because you can't stop me, your queen should know it very well, so why do you still come to me and die in vain? When Suri said this, his eyes looked around, and his tone was not disdainful or unpleasant, but it also made the female angels around him hear some dissatisfaction in Suri's words. For the queen, we will die without mercy. We cannot let a dangerous being like you rush into the ordinary battlefield. Sisters, come together. One of the more than 10 female angels surrounding Suri said the above words in a more prestigious voice, and immediately gained the unanimous consent of the other female angels present. You guys stand down, he's right, you can't stop him. Suddenly a familiar voice echoed in the ears of the angels surrounding Suri. Because it was a public channel, Suri could naturally hear it. Together with the female angels around him, he turned his attention to where the sound came from. Binghua walked out of the wormhole opened in the void, feeling as if her feet were on the ground while she was in the air. However, her appearance surprised the female angels present. Queen, why are you here? What? Can't I come? Facing the female angel's question, Binghua showed a smile and asked. But, Queen, this is a battlefield, it is too dangerous for you to appear here. The female angel was interrupted by Binghua before she could finish her words. Binghua's tone could not be called passionate, but it was like a brand in the hearts of the dozens of female angels present. I know this is a battlefield and I know what I'm doing. And precisely because this is a battlefield, I can't just sit there and watch. I am not the kind of king who can watch you fight bloody battles regardless of your life and remain indifferent. And the guy in front of you is undoubtedly beyond the limits of what you can handle. There is nothing more reasonable than for him to be your king's opponent. So you all go away and help those sisters in need. Also, this is an order from the king, and there is no room for bargaining. Originally the female angel wanted to say something, but Binghua suppressed her with her last words. Just as the female angel present was hesitating, Suri moved. You are really confident? Is it really okay to talk like no one in front of me? Before the words were completely heard, Suri's figure flashed and turned into a black blurred after image in front of a female angel. She raised the giant sword in her hand and lowered it without hesitation. But something was faster than Suri. A chain wrapped around the waist of the female angel in front of Suri, and dragged it back just to avoid the falling sword blade in Suri's hand. Suri's originally indifferent face turned a little colder, and the failed giant sword changed from vertical to horizontal, preparing to pursue it horizontally. But Suri's behavior was interrupted the next moment, and several flaming swords carrying huge kinetic energy were ejected from the wormhole. Faced with such a situation, in order not to be blown away, Suri could only retreat sideways to avoid it and return to the original place. Fighting in the universe is no different than fighting in the atmosphere. If you are hit by a weapon carrying huge kinetic energy, even if you don't use speed, even the party with the advantage can be easily knocked away. So Suri didn't choose to take it hard, because he knew very well that he would be greeted with endless blows. Don't even think about killing my subordinates in front of my eyes. Binghua's faint voice just happened to come. This time the four queens gathered together, and naturally they exchanged some technical aspects. Now Binghua's ability to step on objects in the void is just a useless technology space solidification that Liang Bing accidentally tinkered with. In terms of usage, it has no use except to show off. Solidify the space under your feet to form a physical foothold similar to that of a human. However, the solidification process is too slow and the endurance is very weak, so it is a useless technology. However, Binghua really likes the feeling of stepping on something. It feels more realistic than simply flapping the wings to levitate. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 179. Don't talk too much. After Suri finished speaking, his body suddenly rushed forward, like a cheetah, attacking a female angel who was closer. The giant sword in his raised hand reflected an extremely dangerous cold light. The mind of the female angel who was attacked by Rising Sun was completely blank, and she couldn't react at all, and she was still a little stunned. The sparkling thunder light surged and became the only dazzling light in the universe at this moment. Surrounded by the blue and white thunder snakes, Binghua held a sword with a spread-winged jaw. The silver sword body looked extremely gorgeous and eye-catching. The sword blocked Rising Sun's giant sword attack. However, all the female angels present could see that Binghua was obviously at a disadvantage in terms of strength, because Binghua held the sword with both hands while Suri only used one hand. Moreover, the Wang sword in Binghua's hand was still being slowly pressed towards him. Seeing this, Binghua used his skill to shake the Wang sword in his hand and Suri retreated away from each other. However, the moment the two sides separated, the giant sword in Suri's hand glowed with a thick, burning orange light. This was dark energy that had been extremely compressed and turned into a visible material form. It had extremely high temperature and destructive power. I saw Suri swiping his sword, and a sword energy that was several meters long and showed a burning orange color flew out at high speed. Seeing the sword energy from Rising Sun flying across the sky, Binghua did not dodge but instead changed from retreating to advancing. The signature blue and white thunder snake flashed on his body. The next moment, Binghua was like a bolt of lightning, drawing a zigzag path in the void. The sword energy shot towards the Rising Sun. A harsh explosion spread, followed by a surging arc and faint energy ripples. Suri, who was flying backwards, focused his eyes on the giant sword in his hand, and a tiny scratch came into view. As the attacker, Binghua did not get any benefits at all, and was trying to stabilize his hands that were shaking slightly due to the shock. At this time, the female angel who was still near Binghua and Suri finally knew why the queen asked them to retreat. Just the aftermath of the attack and collision gave them the feeling that they were going to be blown away. This was no longer a battle that their second-generation warriors could participate in. If they continued to stay here, they would only be a burden to the queen. Binghua just rested for a moment and then changed to holding the sword with one hand. There were slight ripples in the space behind him, and pieces of delicate silver feathers as thin as cicada wings appeared out of thin air, and then instantly attached to the angel wings behind Binghua's back. Cover. In less than 2 seconds, the pair of white wings on Binghua's back turned into silver wings that reflected the cold light of metal. Seeing this, the Rising Sun not far away turned around and flapped its wings, flying in the direction of a Tiangong flagship that was about to be captured. The speed was not too fast. Binghua frowned slightly and followed directly, not choosing to take the opportunity to launch an attack. Naturally, the male and female angels who were fighting fiercely on the battlefield would not participate in the battle between Binghua and Suri. After entering the influence range of the Tiangong flagship, Binghua and the others felt the difference from the universe. Gravity is reapplied to the body, and the sound no longer requires public dark communication to listen, as if it were suddenly returned to the atmosphere of a living planet. As if waiting for the arrival of Binghua, the rising sun was quietly suspended in the air and watching Binghua. Then the two of them began to fall down together until their feet landed on the blue-gray floor of the Tiangong flagship square. Although Binghua folded the wings behind her, the silver feathers covering her wings did not disappear. Instead, they were gathered behind Binghua like a pair of metal wings. The two sides were not talking. What needed to be said had been said before. Suri didn't bring Binghua here just to chat. Suri was the first to break the calm. He leaned forward slightly, and in the next moment he crossed a distance of more than 10 meters. The giant sword dragged in his hand left a clear mark on the floor. Binghua's reaction was also very fast. He leaned his body to one side and moved sideways almost as if he was touching the ground. A fan of silver feathers gathered behind him suddenly unfolded, and then the silver feathers rearranged and formed like a handful of several meters of silver. It thrust out like a spear. Suri's charging figure immediately changed direction and continued to sweep towards Binghua. The next moment where he stopped, a deep circular hole was directly pierced by the spear formed by the silver feathers. The remaining silver feathers on the left wing behind Binghua spread out at the fastest speed, covering it in front of him like a shield, just in time to block the giant sword from the rising sun. Boom! The ground beneath Binghua's feet collapsed instantly, forming a small pit of several meters. The huge force was transmitted to the body through the layers of Yunyu's weakening, forcing Binghua's legs to bend slightly downward. Gritting his teeth and using all his strength, Binghua controlled the silver feathers to push forward, and the king's sword in his hand thrust through the scattered silver feathers towards the rising sun on the other side. Turning around to avoid the silver sword blade thrust from the gap in the silver feather shield in front of him, the rising sun raised the sword and the burning orange light began to emerge on the giant sword. But who would have known that the next moment, the silver sword blade that Suri had avoided suddenly exploded into several pieces along the gorgeous vertical lines on the sword, like flying knives shooting out. Suri didn't check for a moment. Even if he barely avoided it, the armor on his body was scratched with several scratches. The giant sword he could lift still slashed down without hesitation. At the same time, multiple air-piercing screams sounded fiercely behind Suri. The next moment a dull loud noise came out. When the dust caused by the explosion dispersed, two figures still standing upright were revealed. Binghua was dirty and looked a little embarrassed. There were 3 silver daggers floating on the left and right sides of his back, and in his hand he was holding a much thinner king's sword. It was obvious that these 6 daggers were separated from the king's sword 7 kills in Binghua's hand, and the armor on the back of Suri opposite him had not received any damage except for a few silver feathers stuck in it. Binghua did not move, and the silver feather that pierced Suri's back suddenly flew out and automatically returned to float behind Binghua. These flashy things don't do anything to me. Saying that, Suri stood on the spot and waved the giant sword in his hand, and a thin sword energy flew out, but the silver feather behind Binghua automatically stepped forward and cut it into several pieces and dissipated in the air. Then let's see how powerful the so-called flashy things in your mouth are. Binghua said and began to enter the dark plane operation panel of the Wang sword in his hand. Open the King Sword 7 kills combat platform, import combat instructions, activate the killing sword Shuxi, and start preparing for the flame bombing. Simultaneously start the killing sword to cover the sky, start the gravity drive, and start to form a gravity field. This is a simple combat platform written by Binghua for the 7 killing King Sword in the dark plane, making it easier to control the liberated King Sword. The 7 kills of the King's Sword was named 7 kills by Binghua. In addition to the meaning of the word itself, it was actually a collective name for the true function of this king's sword. The king's sword 7 kills actually consists of a main sword and 6 auxiliary swords. The normal state is an extremely sharp, noble, and luxurious épée. But after it is released, the secondary sword, which is usually tightly attached to the main sword, will detach, float around Binghua, and autonomously protect Binghua from attacks. At the same time, each secondary sword has different functions, and its internal weapon engine has been implanted with a set energy drive algorithm by Binghua in advance. As long as it is activated when necessary, it can use multiple drive algorithms to fight at the same time. This can be said to be Binghua's trump card left to Huayet. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 180. Among the 3 daggers without hilts floating on the left and right around Binghua, 2 of them suddenly glowed with a faint light of 2 kinds of energy, one red and one blue. On the 7 Killing King Sword combat platform panel in the dark plane, there are also 2 instructions being read and activated. They are the dagger with the prefix code Chu11 and the sequence number 1. Behind it are flashing characters representing preparations for a flame bombing. The other one is a sky-covering dagger with sequence number 2, and the flashing characters behind it mean the strong gravity field is being calculated and formed. At this moment, Binghua stood in the original pit without moving a step, with a large number of silver feathers moving around him like guards, and at the same time, there were 6 floating short swords with unknown purposes behind him. Although Suri didn't understand what Binghua was up to, the gathering dark energy and the light in the air made him understand that Binghua must not be allowed to continue like this. The wings on his back reappeared, and the rising sun was no longer limited to the ground. Instead, it flew at an ultra-low altitude 1 meter above the ground and circled the ice flower for half a circle. When the distance was enough, it concentrated the dark energy on the giant sword in front of it, continuously accelerating and heading straight towards Binghua. Binghua quickly moved sideways to the left, trying to avoid Suri's collision trajectory, but Suri kept changing the collision direction during the flight, and his target was always firmly locked on Binghua. Seeing that it was impossible to dodge, Binghua fortunately stopped hiding. The silver feathers surrounding him began to line up, forming a blade shield, and he planned to shoulder it directly. Boom! An eardrum-piercing explosion sounded, and a circle of faint dark energy spread across the ground, leaving cracked floors dozens of meters in radius. The shield composed of silver feathers exploded directly, and pieces of silver feathers shot into the ground around Binghua like flying knives, but they also successfully reduced most of the power of Suri's attack. Asahi Japan thought that by splitting the silver feather shield, he would be able to attack the ice flower behind him, but who knew that what faced him were 4 deadly daggers. 4 rays of silver suddenly appeared in the air and crossed Suri's body in the air. At the last moment, Suri adjusted his body so that he was not penetrated by the 4 rays of silver. However, he also lost the chance to attack Binghua again. That's it? Staggering Binghua's position and flying forward. As soon as Suri passed Binghua's position, Binghua shouted loudly, "Let me fall." I saw the dagger on Binghua's left side that had been floating quietly and emitting a trace of blue light fiercely shooting towards the rising sun. Then a circle of inexplicable fluctuations spread, the air became distorted as if being pressed by something, and the originally cracked floor made a crisp crackling sound again. Suri was even more unbearable. The body that was flying at a very low altitude seemed to be suddenly carrying a mountain on its back. It was forced to the ground and a human-shaped hole was created. And the dagger that was fired at Suri before was now quietly inserted not far from Suri, who was pressed on the ground. Gravity field. Suri only had time to say these 3 words before red light surged in. Before the scorching heat reached him, faint green smoke began to emit from the surrounding floor. Boom! A huge explosion sounded, and a red cloud of fire rose up, swallowing up an area of 100 meters in the square. The burning stone passed by Binghua's ear, passed through the hair on the back of his head that was blown by the impact, and hit the ground. However, it was ignored by Binghua. Binghua's eyes were just staring at the face. Slowly dissipating flames bombarded the center. Using the gravity field to restrict the rising sun, and then directly attacking with flame bombing, this is the optimal attack plan calculated by Binghua. As for close combat, Binghua felt that it was difficult to have a chance to kill Suri. Suri was different from Hercules. In addition to being powerful in close combat, Hegrath is extremely lacking in attack methods. Suri is different. He is proficient in releasing condensation driven by dark energy. Coupled with his already much stronger physical fitness and recovery ability than Binghua, it is difficult for Binghua to stand a chance of winning. It is not advisable to use weapons in the arsenal to cover the attack remotely. The giant sword in Suri's hand was tested by Binghua before, and it was found that its edge was doped with dark silver ore and became extremely sharp. Coupled with Suri's dark energy driving skills, it is enough to easily cut off flaming weapons, and then the precious flaming sword will be wasted. Binghua, who was thinking about this, was suddenly stunned, because after the flame bombardment dissipated, except for the huge hole on the floor and the metal melted at the edge, Suri's figure disappeared without a trace. Binghua did not think that Suri had been wiped out by him. Under the blow of the flame bombing, Suri, as the owner of a generation of divine bodies, might be injured, but he would never die. After Binghua recovered the two daggers that had been used in the combined attack just now, he immediately flew into the hole, trying to find traces of Suri. At this moment, outside the Tiangong flagship, the armor on his body showed slight signs of melting, and there were a few burns on his face that were healing. Suri was quickly flying towards the flagship he came on. Inform all combat teams that the combat plan has failed. Now retreat and leave the star field immediately. Suri's voice paused as he said this, and he glanced at one of the celestial battleships on the Tiangong side that had been captured by Binghua's men. Abandon the warship that is entangled by the female angel, retreat now, don't be reluctant to fight. The next moment, the male angels who were still struggling to fight against the female angels suddenly began to retreat back to the nearby Tiangong flagship, leaving behind the combined fleet and some of the soldiers behind them, and then performed a space jump and left the battlefield. Until all 5 Tiangong flagships were evacuated, Binghua did not find Suri again, and in the end he could only vent his frustration on the remaining male angels. Compared with ordinary female angel warriors, Binghua, who has the authority to open the heavenly sword weapons arsenal, is no different from her status as the heavenly sword king. Under the crazy rain of flaming swords, no male angel can escape with his life, and they are all killed. The rain of huge weapons pricked him into a hedgehog. Afterwards, Binghua also realized that the reason why Suri fled during the battle was because of the inferiority of his subordinates on the frontal battlefield. Binghua was not alone in coming to support, there were also 10 Skyblade battleships and more than 500,000 Legion soldiers coming together. In such an unfavorable situation for itself, Suri did not find an opportunity to retreat to preserve the strength of his subordinates, so he was not worthy of Huaye's respect. At the same time, Huaye's army on the right-wing defense line where Liangbing was located also began to retreat simultaneously. The official confrontation between the female angel and Hui group ended in such a regrettable way. Although both sides suffered losses in this battle, neither of them reached the level of injury, so it is not yet clear who is better and who is worse. Let's not mention Liangbing's losses for the time being, but the losses to Binghua's Heavenly Sword Legion alone exceeded 100,000, and even the Heavenly Blade warships were disabled and damaged. To restore full functionality, they still need to go to the rear for repairs. A period of time. Seeing that just in a tentative full-scale battle with the Hui group, the female angels' casualties exceeded 200,000, reaching a terrifying number of nearly 300,000. Binghua couldn't help but sigh sadly. War is actually two groups burning their own lives against each other, until the life of the other group is burned out first, or until the other side can't bear it anymore, and the one who persists in the end is naturally the winner.